everyone, I'm Liz and welcome back to ElizabethAnnCanStitch for Flosstube episode 5. I've decided that this episode is going to be all about samplers. I'm going to show you samplers that I fully finished, some that just have been finished but are waiting to be framed, ones that I'm working on, my works in progress, and ones I have kitted or just really want to start. So yeah, I'm super excited to show you guys all of the samplers in my life. I also have an announcement of the giveaway winner this week, so stick around for that. Yeah, and then of course I'll walk you through what I've been working on this week, even if it isn't sampler related. But first off, let me start with a finish that I got, a fully finished item that I got back in the mail on Friday. This is, oh, very reflective. It's not the museum glass, as you can see. Hello, there's my light. This is George and Martha by Plum Street Samplers. And this is a frame bridge frame. So a few months ago, when I took 2 pieces to my local framer hang-ups, I also decided to try out framebridge.com. I don't know if anybody's heard of them, but they are an online frame shop. You mail them your piece. They have frame options. They send you some options, or you can pick. And then they frame the piece and mail it back to you. And the advantage of Framebridge is that they have a low, I think it's 50 frame options to choose from. But so I guess they buy those in bulk, so it's discounted. So it's cheaper, than what you might pay at a traditional frame shop. So this is about half the price of custom framing. So I really wanted to give it a go, try it out. And I had this piece, which I could have made maybe into a pillow, but because it's pretty small, but it's just big enough that I kind of wanted to frame it. And I have a lot of patriotic pieces that I wanted to put this on the wall near. So I decided to give Framebridge a go. I have to say that it wasn't the best experience. My package got returned to them, delayed, and then back to me a month later, which isn't necessarily their fault. The shipping stuff right now is crazy. But they weren't super communicative about where my piece was, and I kind of thought this cross stitch was lost for a few weeks, which was pretty sad. I don't want to lose my precious cross stitch. But I finally got it back in the mail. Very surprisingly, it just showed up on my doorstep on Friday, and I was so excited. So I do like the frame, and I like the overall look, if you're looking at it from back here. But now that I've started framing my own pieces and, just figuring out how to mount and pin and lace, I feel like I can do a better job than what they did here. I don't know if it's going to be super obvious, but up in the corner, all of the threads should be perpendicular. And I feel like the fabric pulls weirdly, the point of the star is pulled out of place. The bottom, oh gosh, that light. See, they didn't have any options for non-reflective glass. So this is my only, I think this is plexi even. I think it's supposed to be they're non-reflective, but it's really not as high quality as you get at the frame shop. But at the bottom, it's kind of bottom of the house line is a little bit wavy. And then that corner, you can see kind of pulls in a little bit. So overall, I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to display it. I'm not going to change anything about this. I just think now that I've started doing some at-home framing, while it's a lot of work, I kind of prefer, mounting my own needlework to having, a frame shop do it, because I just feel like I can be super particular and picky and get it done the way I want to get it done. So yeah, so that's my experience with Framebridge. I think it's worth it looking into it. But just know that, probably depending on who actually frames your piece, they might have different levels of skill sets of actually stretching and pulling, and mounting needlework. So your mileage may vary, as they say. Yeah, but that's my finish this week. Very excited to have another framed and finished piece to display in my house. So up next, I'm going to show you what I've been working on this week, and then we're going to get into sampler madness. So I'm going to start with the non-sampler whips. And actually, first up this week is a new start. Another new start. This is Prairie Schooler Animal Alphabet. And I got this pattern to stitch my nephew Andy's name on for his room. So I'm stitching Andrew. And let me show you my little start on this. So you can see I start on the right side. So I've just got W and the start of E. Some of the letters in this, I didn't look before I started stitching, and some of the letters are hilarious. So W is for weasel, E is for elephant, totally normal. N, I was like, N is for 9-ringed armadillo, which I was like, that's a stretch. And then I guess like there's not that many animals that start with N, but I was like 9-ringed armadillo. How do I even, yeah, there's the little armadillo. So cute. Anyways, so I've got almost 2 letters complete. Just need to put in a little bit more time. Those stitch up so quick, but you know, I got distracted and worked on something else, but there's my start. Okay, so next up is The Visitor. And this is one I had started last week before the video. And it is so beautiful and so much fun to work on. I love this pattern. Oh, you know what? I keep doing this. Before I move on, this is a 28 count ivory linen by Zweigart. I wanted to stitch this on 28 count, so it would be a little bit bigger than if I tried to stitch it on 40 or 36, because these blocks are only 26 by 26. So that's why I picked a 28 count ivory for this project. Okay, back to The Visitor. Here is my progress on The Visitor. As you can see, I got the greens that I was missing. Yeah, this has been so much fun to work on. I think it's a combination of the pattern, the floss, and the fabric. This is my first time using Seraphim fabrics. You may remember I hauled some of their fabrics a couple videos ago, and this is like the loveliest stuff to work on. I think it's a Zweigart base. Yeah, it's got the orange stripe, but it's just like, it feels like thick and substantial, but like soft and easy to hold. The colors are really, really pretty. I love the kind of variation in the color. It led to me, you know, getting online and ordering more pieces, even though I already ordered 4 fat quarters of this fabric. Somebody stopped me from buying fabric, except don't do it because I want all the fabric. Yeah, so Seraphim Fabrics, highly recommend. The Visitor, highly recommend. This is a 40 count Dusty Road by Seraphim Fabrics, all the called for flosses, and it is so much fun to stitch on. So if you like the look of this pattern, I highly, highly recommend. And so now that we've made it to The Visitor, let's announce the giveaway winner. So last week on my video, I announced a giveaway for an extra copy of The Visitor that I accidentally bought myself and don't need. And so I asked you to leave a comment using the word visitor, and I would use the random YouTube comment picker. And I did that, and the Patchy Pony Stitcher, am I saying that name right? I'll put it up on the screen, has won this pattern. So if that's you, my email is in the description box below, or you can DM me on Instagram and give me your address, and I will send you this pattern so you can start stitching it. So yay. Thank you all so much to everyone who entered. There were so many fun comments last week, and I'm, sure it's partly because I offered a giveaway, but I had so much fun reading through everybody's comments about where they like to stitch, which it sounds like all of us stitch at 1, 2, 3 stitch. And that's why their supplies, I'm sure, are getting depleted, because we're all just like, floss, fabric, patterns, all the stuff. But I actually discovered a few new ones that I hadn't heard of in the comments. So I've been running around doing some little virtual shopping. I actually have been pretty good this week, and I really don't have much haul to show you. And I haven't made a lot of orders, so maybe next week I will. Who knows? We'll see. But I definitely discovered a lot of new to me shops that I'm very excited about, so thank you guys. Okay, so last up in the non-sampler whip parade is my holiday study stocking. Yay! Here is where I'm at. Give you a little close up there. Yeah, this I put in good several hours on this week, and I got a lot more of the details in this top shelf of the bookshelf, and started working again a little bit more on the desk. I backstitched my little stack of apples and my little carafe of cinnamon sticks, and yeah, just and then I started a tiny bit up on the nameplate with just some leftover floss that I needed to use up before I rethreaded my needle. I actually tried something new on Instagram this week. So if you use Instagram, I'll list my my username in the box below. But I decided this week to try using Insta Stories to show a little bit closer in detail on what I'm stitching on. So, you can kind of see in natural light. I would try to do them outside on my porch or in the sewing room where I have good light. So you can see close-ups of what I'm working on. And it's been fun, and I've gotten some good response. So if you use Instagram, maybe go check those out if you want to see kind of some progress as kind of in real time as I'm working on them. I'll try and do those a few times a week as I have stuff to talk about. So yeah, that's been fun. Oh yeah, and this stocking is stitched on the called for 25 count mushroom Lugana, and this is all the called for DMC, just all DMCs. And you can get this pattern on the Cooler Designs website as a PDF, and I think on 123 Stitch as well. Okay, so that's everything I worked on this past week that was not a sampler. So now we're going to get into the sampler section of the program. I would say I'm new-ish to stitching samplers, like over the last 2 years. Stop saying Elizabeth. Okay. Let me just chastise myself for a second. So I'm new probably in the last couple of years of stitching samplers. So I only have a couple finished to show you. I have the couple I'm working on, and then I have a lot of want to stitch. So let's start with what I worked on this week. First up is Land That I Love by Teresa Kogut. And here she is. So pretty, so big. so good. I'm stitching all the called for colors on 36 count limestone Zweigart that I over dyed. I got a lot more of my little house done with the red door put in, and it looks amazing. I love it. And got my little cat in there. Yeah, I started a tiny bit more on that strawberry and blueberry border, which is beautiful. And didn't do too much more up at the top. So this has just been so much fun to stitch on. I'm trying to finish this first house before I move back up and kind of work top down, just so I have a house out of the way and I don't have 3 houses to do at the as my last thing to stitch on the sampler. It's been hard this week to stitch on anything else. I put this down so I could work on the stocking because that's like, something I have a deadline and have to get done. And so that kind of broke the spell because this was, I think, the first few days of the week. That's all I was stitching on is this. I just love working on it. But, I have other things I want to get done too. It's so hard. Like, I am a all over the place person, but sometimes I can get locked in on a project and that's all I want to stitch on. But then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to have anything to show the people. But I'm sure, a lot of progress on some of these big samplers would be fun to see too. So I need to stop worrying myself about that and just work on what I want to work on. So next sampler that I worked on this week is Heartstring Samplery, Consider the Lilies. And here is where I'm at. So I worked a little bit more on the words. I wanted to get the tree trunk of the center tree in place because I put the angel in over here. And relative to everything around it, the angel is in the perfect spot. But for some reason, this little green tree seems to be maybe a column or something off. So I kind of want to put the tree in the center and know that that's right before I base any other spacing decisions off of that green tree because I'm worried that it might not be in the exact right place. So yeah. So I put in that little angel and worked some more on the little moth up here. And worked more on the letters and bringing it across so I could do the tree trunk. So that's the progress I made this week on lilies. And this one I am stitching on the Winter's Brew by R&R that's called for, but I'm stitching on 40 count. And I am using all the called for colors except for maybe 1 or 2 that I just couldn't find at the time and subbed, but all the colors, are as called for. I didn't change any of the coloring of anything. So yes. Loving, loving, loving working on this one. Okay, so now I want to show you some samplers I have previously finished and framed. And we're going to start with So with thy needle and thread, oh, actually I do have the pattern sitting right here. So let me show you that first so you can see. This is called When Flowers Blossom by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I consider this a sampler since it has a verse and all the little motifs. I don't know a ton about samplers other than the ones I like to stitch and, hearing people talk about them on Flosstube. Like, I've never done a lot of research into samplers, so I don't even know the true definition of a sampler. It's just I feel like I know it when I see it, which is the motifs around a central theme with either an alphabet or a verse or something. So if some of these don't look like samplers to you, I don't know. I think they all are, but maybe I don't know. So just go with me. So this one is When Flowers Blossom. And I finished this up probably about 6 months ago and got it framed a couple of months ago alongside my Liberty Inn that I showed in my first video. So this one was professionally framed at my local frame shop, Hang Ups. And I love how this one turned out. So let me back it up so you can see the whole thing. And then I'll give you a close up. Oh gosh, how do I get rid of that green circle? Anyways, it's beautiful. I love this one so much. This is, I'm pretty sure, a lakeside linen. Let me check and see what the called for was, just to confirm. Yeah, the called for is 40 count sheep straw, but I'm almost positive I used a lakeside linen. I just can't remember what the color I used is. And it was on 40 count, and it's all the called for colors. I loved, I think this is Aztec red. Is that an Aztec red or is it old brick? I can't remember now, but the pinks and reds in this are just what drew me. And then the little gingham dress that the girl has on. Oh, I love it. Yeah, so this one hangs in my hallway and I stare at it every day as I come into the sewing room, and it's perfect. I love it. Okay. So the last fully finished, why am I saying last? It's the second one. The second and last sampler that I have fully finished is another With Thy Needle and Thread, and I did pull the pattern. Okay, well, oops, I did not pull the pattern, so I'll put it up on the screen. This is by With Thy Needle and Thread, and it is a reproduction sampler, and it is the first sampler I ever stitched, and I did frame this one myself, and I just love how this turned out. I was so drawn to this pattern for the colors. I think when I first started looking or watching videos where people were showing off samplers, I don't know, I was like, okay, I like those, but like I'd really have to be drawn to the colors to want to stitch something this big and this involved. And this was the first one where I saw it and I was like, yes, I love the kind of pastel, brightish, you know, like pinks and oranges and blues, and just like, you know, the multicolor alphabet and all the interest. So I had so much fun stitching this, and I think I stitched this one in like a few weeks. Like this is like the only thing I worked on for a few weeks, and I got this done so fast. I loved it. And luckily it's slightly longer top and bottom than side to side, but this is a 9x12. Is that right? 9x12? Yes. Frame, and it fits so well. So I'll just give you a little close-up view. My first ever sampler. And I stitched this on 32 count, and I'm almost positive this is a picture, this plus linen. I just can't think of which one it is. It might be the called for. When I look at the pattern, I'll put it up on the screen if it's the called for, but I definitely used all of the called for floss for this. It's just lovely. I loved it. So fun. Okay. And then I have one other sampler finished, but it hasn't been framed. And I think I did show this in my very first Flosstube video, but I will show it again here for Sampler Sunday. This is Stacy Nash Primitives, Gathering the Greens. And here she is. Yay! So this one is stitched on Old Week's Confederate Gray 40 count, and all the called for colors. I sometimes am adventurous with choosing my own colors, but usually it's on like a Christmas or patriotic piece where it's like, I know what the colors should be and, you know, have no trouble substituting them. Sometimes on like samplers and one's super involved with a lot of colors, I don't make a lot of substitutions unless I'm just subbing in a color I can't find for something very similar. So yeah, so this one was done with all the called for threads. And was this the called for fabric? It was. It called for 35 count Confederate gray, and I stitched it on 40 count Confederate gray. So, yep, pretty much all the called for here. Ugh, I really want to get this one framed. I actually bought a 9x12 frame at Hobby Lobby the other night because this piece is 7 1/4 by 11. And so that would mean about a 1/2 inch margin on these sides, but, you know, about 1 inch on the top and bottom. So it'd probably be great. It probably would be fine, but it wouldn't look super custom. And I really enjoyed ordering custom size frames and then framing my piece. So I might look around online and see if I can find something that looks good for this, and try to frame this myself. And if I do that, maybe I'll try and film, like a little top-down video of me framing something and me just kind of talking through it, like the way I do it. I'm not a professional framer. I just have taught myself watching all kinds of videos, and I like to do it. I really enjoy mounting and stretching my needlework and making it look perfect and tidy and fit into a frame. And yeah, so maybe if I can figure out like an overhead camera type setup, I'll show you guys how I frame this. Stay tuned. Okay, so next up, I'm going to walk through the whips that I haven't worked on in a little while. These have been in the whip bin this past year and have been worked on at some point in the last 6 months. And these are just different samplers that I have in progress, and I've got quite a few. So let me try and get through these quickly. I think I'm talking a lot today. Okay. Oh, where's the front page? Okay, so this one is the Drawn Threads Sunnyside Sampler. And this definitely isn't a traditional sampler that you would think of. This is a long, skinny piece, but yeah, I'm counting it as a sampler. I think it is one. This, I think, might have been the first sampler I bought. The With Thy Needle and Thread was the first one I actually stitched, but I think this was the first pattern I bought intending to stitch. But I hadn't stitched anything with silk threads, and I was a little intimidated by the cost of all those silks that are called for. So I spent the last 2 years just slowly buying all the silks, like 1 or 2 at a time, until I had them all. And so I actually started this one not that long ago. So I haven't worked on this in July, but I did work a lot on this in June. So let me show you my progress. Here we go. And this one is on a 36 count raw naturals Weigert with all of the called for silk colors, which are NPIs and dinky dyes. Everything, well, not everything, but most things Drawn Thread does has specialty stitches. And so that is no exception here. I have stitched a lot of Drawn Thread and I love it. So there's like specialty stitches for the flowers, there's back stitching, there's over one in the verse, which is the Sunnyside quote. Yeah, so I think that's it. Over one, some kind of fancy flower stitches, and back stitch. But it is so much fun to work on. The silks are beautiful. Even, you know, the NPIs aren't variegated, right? They're just solid colors like DMC. And I was like, oh, is it worth it to stitch with silks? Like, why not just use the DMC? But I really want to give it a go on this project. And I have stitched with silk before, but I think this is my first time with NPI. And they're just so lovely. Like, they feel so nice. Like, just the stitching process itself is like so satisfying with silk. So that's why I love it. Okay, what's next? Okay, so up next is a Heartstring Samplery Stitcher's Resolution, which, you know, let's see, what does it say? 1, when in doubt, always buy more linen and thread. 2, stitch all day and absolutely no housework allowed. 3, always start a new project before the last one is finished, requiring a return to number 1. Yeah, that is me to a T. So my boyfriend laughed pretty hard when he saw this pattern, because he's like, yes, that is your game plan always. So I started this a few months ago. I went through kind of a crazy starting phase a while back, and just have a little bit of progress. And of course, I want to get back to this one soon, but I'm going to say that about every single piece. And here is my progress. Ooh. Let's see if I can do this. Just basically got the upper right corner started. I love the colors. There's only like 5 colors in this, and they're beautiful. And I'm stitching this one on 36 count Legacy Edinburgh. They said this is Legacy from Picture This Plus. This is not Legacy. It has a 1, 2, 3 stitch label, and the PTP usually stands for Picture This Plus, but this is clearly just like an ivory swagger. This is not Picture This Plus. So anyways, I'm pretty sure this is just an ivory swagger. I think that tag is wrong. What was it called for? R&R Classic Homespun. I've never even seen that fabric, but yeah, I'm just stitching it on a plain cream swagger. Okay, so next up is another Stacy Nash, and this is the Tribute to Summer sampler. And I was really drawn to those big white flowers in the border. I think those are so cool. And I don't have a huge start on this, but I'll show you what I have. Yay. This is Old Week's 40 count cocoa, and the colors, this is the called for fabric, right? Let me confirm. Yeah, so the called for fabric is actually a 30 count cocoa, but I wanted to do 40 count. This is when I got really into 40 count about a year ago. So yeah, this is a 40 count cocoa linen with all of the called for colors. And it's been so much fun to stitch. Oh, I want to get back to this one. Love this border. It's just 2 colors. It's so fun. Okay, so those are all the samplers that I currently have as a whip. So now I'm going to walk you through some things I have kitted and some things I really want to kit and get started. And this is going to definitely lead to me buying way too much fabric and floss online and starting way too many projects in the near future. I can already tell. Okay, so first one I have, well, kitted with the floss. Some of these have fabric, some of them have fabric and floss. We'll see. Oh, no, there's fabric in here. Okay, so this is Strawberry Fields Forever by Blackbird Designs. And you're going to notice a theme. Almost all of the samplers I want to stitch are Blackbird Designs or with Thigh Needle and Thread. Those are definitely my 2 favorite cross stitch pattern companies or designers. I love them. So I've had this one for a couple of years, and I've had the floss and fabric for like a year. And the only thing that is keeping me from starting this, because this is like everything I love, like the strawberries, the border, the reds, like the big red house, the red gate, like this is so cool. And the only thing that has stopped me from starting this is that I don't love the stark gray chevron and bricks in contrast with the reds and pinks. And I so far haven't figured out a good way to convert them to maybe more like sandy concrete-y type grays rather than such like deep, like kind of blue-black grays. I just don't love the contrast right here. But I have seen it stitched and it looks beautiful, so I think I need to just go for it. But I don't know, I keep thinking I'm gonna convert some of those colors, and that's why I haven't started this one. I do have, let's see, does it call for 32 count or what does it call for? Yes, so it does call for 32 count Confederate Gray by Weeks, and I do have that. This is the old Weeks. And then I have most of the flosses, although I didn't get the grays. So my hesitation is, one, do I really want to stitch on 32 count on the sampler 2/2, because that's usually not my favorite, but the sampler's not that big and I have the fabric, why not use it, right? And then my other conundrum is changing the grays, which I don't have in here, but changing the grays to something a little softer and more like sandy color, rather than such stark grays. So I definitely want to start this one. I just don't know when yet. Next up is Merry Christmas by Blackbird Designs. So cool. And I just have the floss kitted up for this one. And oh my gosh, look at this floss. It's like kind of crazy town colors, right, for Christmas. Really pretty though. So someday I will stitch this Merry Christmas sampler. Oops, let me tuck my floss back in. And whenever I kit up a project, I always put it in its own bag. This is just a very cheapo Amazon zipper bag. And so I just always toss the pattern, and if I bought floss or fabric, just to keep it all together so I'm not hunting later and forgetting what I bought things for. Okay, next up that's partially kitted is actually one I got in the mail today. So I had to place an order for, not today, today is Sunday. I got in the mail probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I had placed an order from Hobby House for some flosses I was missing on the Visitor, and I threw in a couple of patterns. And I had seen this one before and loved it. I've never really stitched anything on a super dark fabric. So, and I just love the way the colors pop. And this is Scarlet House and Topley, 1802. And I pulled a piece of fabric out of my stash that I think would look good with it. And this is 36 count Weeks Twilight. I don't know, I would say it's probably slightly bluer than what the pattern calls for. But then if you look at this close-up picture on the back, I feel like it does look a little bit blue, right? Oh, the glare. So I kind of feel like this Twilight might be the perfect pick for this pattern. It is old Weeks and 36 count, so it might not be my favorite. I don't know, I say that, but it's fine. Old Weeks is fine. But this one again is not super big. It's 122 by 181. Oh, that is 181. I was thinking it was slightly smaller, but it's not a huge one. So I think I'd be fine stitching it on this 36 count, and I would do it 1/2 on 36 count. I kind of like the prim see-through-ish type look on 36 count. I don't like to stitch 2/2 on 36. All right. So the last one that I have kitted up is one that we talked about last week, and it is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs. All the Blackbird. I want to stitch all the Blackbird. So if you remember last week, I was asking anybody with an opinion to tell me theirs about my fabric choices. And in the end, I got my piece of 36 count Picture This Plus Legacy, and yep, it's perfect with all the colors. It's perfect. So I am gonna go with the 36 count Picture This Plus for Oh Joyous Day. And I want to start this one so soon. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be good. I want to start this right now. Maybe today. Who knows? Okay, so I have a few other patterns to show you that I want to kit up and really want to stitch. This one is also one I got this week from Hobby House, along with Ann Topley. Let me see if I can get it out of the plastic for you. This one is by Brenda Gervais, and it is called Heart and Hand. I've stitched quite a few things on this dove linen, and I just love the colors. I love the white flowers, the little purple berries. I just think this is beautiful. So I actually did a quick search yesterday to see if I could find 36 count dove in Zweigart base or 40 count, and I can't find it anywhere. I can just find the old weeks, and I'd really like to find this color on the new Zweigart base. So I think that might be one I just need to like special order and wait the 3 months, you know, to get it in, because it's not like I need to start this anytime soon. So I think I might need to call up a brick and mortar and have them place an order with weeks for me so I can get a piece of fabric. Again, this one I don't think is too big. I always say that and then it ends up being, you know, like 200 by 200. Let me see. $187 by $178. No, this is a substantial. Okay, well, whatever. Someday. I'll stitch them all someday. Heart and Hand by With Thy Needle and Thread. Next up is another Brenda Gervais With Thy Needle and Thread, and it's called To Quote Shakespeare. And again, this is probably not what you would think of as a traditional sampler. I'm calling it one because it is a long, skinny piece. I wish there was a better, I don't think there's a bigger picture in the pattern. It's just like the pattern itself. But it's all these little ladies and flower pots and motifs with the alphabet underneath. And she shows it finished into a paper mache box. I think I would probably frame mine as one long piece. I love the idea of having samplers in all kinds of different sizes to make a sampler wall. And yeah, and I just love the colors, reds and pinks, of course. And so that is on my to be stitched list. Okay, and so the last two things I have to share with you are Blackbird Designs books and samplers that I want to stitch from Blackbird Designs books. And so the first two are in this Sewing Club book, which I got after market. I haven't stitched anything yet in here, but I want to. And so first up, make some tabs here. So first, oh, well, I can't show you the patterns. Let me see here. Is this little drum. And it's called A Bit of Summer. There's not a picture of the whole sampler piece not made into a drum. It's just the pattern, so I can't show you that. But I think I don't think I would make it into a drum. I think I would just stitch the kind of small little sampler piece. And this one is 113 by 60, so it's an actual small one. And then it does call for 36 count sanguine by weeks. And so I went ahead and grabbed a very small, cute little piece. And I just have it tucked into the book. So when I want to start that little sampler, I know I have the linen for it. And then the other one that I want to start like right now, like this is the one I think I'm going to go online and buy supplies for like right now, is Tiny Treetops Rose or Thyme. Look how sweet this little sampler is. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's like a little, like, it's just like the top third of a sampler or something, right? Just the three sides of the border, the alphabet, and the little flower pots. I love this. This one is 208 by 83. So, yeah. And what does it call for? Doubloon by Picture This Plus. Maybe that's what I'll be hunting for later today. And I feel like I have most of these flosses. This is gonna be dangerous. I want to stitch this one. I want to stitch everything. Okay, and so then I have The Bells on Christmas Day by Blackbird Designs. I'm sure everyone's seen this book. It's been super popular. And I did stitch the needle book. I think I showed that in my very first video. So I have stitched this little pattern. I think it was called Wild and Sweet. Actually, I might have marked it. Yeah, Wild and Sweet. So the samplers I want to stitch out of this book are The Unbroken Song, and that's the only picture of it, but it's just a little sweet small sampler. I love these little small samplers. So cute. And then the other one is, of course, the big one from the book, and it is The Bells on Christmas Day, which I think a lot of people have stitched, and it is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Love the checkerboard house. And this is the motif that was on my needle book, which was so much fun to stitch, and yeah, I love it. Whew, okay, I made it. So that was all the samplers that I'm working on, have finished, have framed, want to stitch immediately. This is definitely going to lead to a buying spree. This is a dangerous video for me to make, but that's okay. It was so much fun to do. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to share with you guys this week. This was such a fun video. I want to thank everybody for sticking around and coming back and leaving comments. This has been so much fun to do. I love getting on here every week and talking about my stitching. You know, there's only so much my sisters and my boyfriend can listen to me talk about stitching, so it's fun to find my people and people who want to hear me talk about everything I'm working on and what I'm doing. I'm hoping next week I'll be back with a little bit more quilting to share, and we'll see what I started. Who knows? See you guys next Sunday. Bye.